Cedar Point has just unveiled its latest thrill machine, a brand new Vekoma tilt coaster that's unlike anything the USA has ever seen before. It adds something totally different to the park, and it absolutely delivers. This is Siren's Curse. On ride and headed up the lift, the views can't get much better here, and the onboard audio really sets the creepy tone in a pretty unbelievable way. Sitting on the left side of the train here really gets you an unobstructed view of the tilt. A creaking sound is added to give some extra atmosphere to the swift tilt, and then you quietly lock into position and release into the layout. The back of the train here is a much better drop, really sustained longer, lasting a lot longer than the front, which heads into the turn almost immediately. And then into an airtime hill that turns 180 degrees in the reverse direction. You take the first of two inversions and upwards over heartline roll, turning again flawlessly into this triple down moment. 3 little pops of some negative G's through an S turn and a wave turn, and then into the tunnel. A really great fog effect and screech of sound welcome you before you twist up again and into the non-inverted turnaround. Kind of shaped like a squished non-inverted loop. You hit some strong positive G's here with a little pop of negative G's in the middle. The second inversion is another over heartlined roll flat against the ground, and then you turn again into a wave turn before finishing off the ride with some S turns. Now, layout aside, let's talk about what this ride really does great, along with some things that aren't my favorite. First of all, this ride is one of the most fun machines to watch ever, and luckily there's a nice shaded area where you can just stand and watch as long as you please. It really is satisfying to observe the riders and view the tilt do its thing, and all of the Cedar Point guests stop as they walk by this ride and just stare up and watch it. It really is that captivating. It's the most visually impactful ride since the dive machine. And then even through the layout, the rolls are fun to view and the turns are satisfyingly smooth and shaped in a way that's visually awesome to look at. While on the ride itself, the tilt is equally impressive. You can't help but want to be higher in the air as all these surrounding rides still tower above you. But it is wildly fun to sit in the back of the train and then be lifted over the pathway, really not being able to see the track below at all before you drop. And then the front has another fun sensation of being able to see the track come into view and just being able to see those few inches of track that are in front of you as you tilt. It really is one of the coolest starting elements to a coaster ever, and you really get a lot of anticipation from the tilt and the lift hill and the mechanism here. Then the ride's layout begins, and I will say it feels like all the other new Vekomas out there, so if that's your thing, this is a perfect ride for you. These newer models kind of use a center line that is too perfect for my taste. That precision and perfection really has you losing the quote feel of the coaster. Perfect transitions, perfect G-forces. Riding a new Vekoma is like owning a new Toyota Camry. Smooth and praised for its reliability, but in reality somewhat bland and lacking in exciting driving dynamics. And with those vest restraints giving you a nice hug, does the whole ride feel too secure? Do you lose that edge? Capacity is only okay here, and it really could be improved if the train didn't park so far back from the station. It really takes a long time for the train to get from the final brake run and into the station for guests to load. As Vekoma does, they've used every bit of energy here to create a long ride that never loses its pace. The ride really blends together as one. That does remove any standout moments though, and it can have you losing the sense of speed with its flowiness. It feels as if the ride is one long element. Everything feels to have the same roll speed, and really the little breaks or snaps and turns and hills create a better story, and that's missing. Intamin has been really great at this recently, creating a very definite beginning, middle, and end to their rides, and not really basing the ride entirely on this force vector design. It really depends what you want out of a well-paced ride, as it can mean many things, but one long element doesn't do it for me. That in hand lowers the excitement level of the ride. You could say that the vest restraints take away from your ability to enjoy the freeness of most manufacturers' newer restraints. Vekoma really still has you very secured here. Something I really like about their suspended thrill models are those lap bars and that freedom of movement. They really are more exciting rides to me than these sit-down models, even though they tend to be slower in most cases. I will say that the use of tunnels that Vekoma has been doing is genius. Being able to build the ride with more speed by building into the ground is really something that never will get old, and it's a positive in every way. When walking up to the ride, Cedar Point has added a wooden fence near the entrance. Onlookers don't really get to see the deep purple water that is under the ride, but it also blocks the unsightly chain fences in the queue, and it really gives the queue its own vibe. There's also some nice sound effects around the ride and inside the line, and the angles that you get of the ride while waiting can keep you occupied enough for an hour or so. The onboard audio on this ride adds so much to it. It's really vital for creating the energy and that vibe as you climb up the lift hill, take that turn, the lake surrounding you 360 degrees. It's a really, really cool atmosphere. It's the best anticipation that you have for a first drop inside the whole park, and really one of the best in the whole world. The volume of the audio on the ride and the position and the clarity of the speakers, strictly from a technical perspective, is done better than any of the coaster rides at Epic Universe. It's just very easy to understand what's going on. Regarding the track color, it could be different. A dark purple, I think, would be really cool and fit in with everything else that this has going for it, or maybe just all black. Six Flags has been repainting everything to match theming more, but then they decide to keep this red, which is really unfortunate. The lights on the trains kind of clash with this color, and it just would have been cool to have this ominous track color instead of this very basic red and gray that was maybe meant to fit into Energylandia. The tilt of Siren's Curse is of course very unique, and the ride feels very re-rideable, but take away the tilt and what you have is a layout that feels like every other Vekoma built ride. Just as RMC fell into this groove where many of their rides started to feel similar, and I do believe they're pulling out of that now, which is great. Vekoma is stuck here with their rides that all kind of feel the same. Of course, I'm really fortunate enough to have ridden a lot of these rides, but they really do all feel very similar. You can see I don't absolutely love to see this perfection in rides. There's a careful balance that actually makes something a 10 out of 10. Who knows if we'll ever see something like that exist. But that's what's so fun about having so many different ride types, manufacturers, and especially as the age of roller coasters evolve, we see this progression and differences go on. Siren's Curse is my favorite new age Vekoma roller coaster. The tilt adds so much to the experience. It really doesn't feel like a gimmick. It's very fun. It's a huge positive. I still really enjoyed this ride. Easily a top 5 at Cedar Point, and an awesome addition that's way different from anything else there. They continue to solidify themselves as the best roller coaster park in the world with this addition. Watching it is mesmerizing. Riding it, you can't help but miss the imperfections that make other coasters unforgettable. Vekoma really has anchored themselves as the Lexus of the industry. Rides that run incredibly well. They have this classy, luxurious experience with an expensive feel. But in the end, you can't help but want a Ferrari.